Okay.
Now, Brenton, I hope you brought your homework tonight.
No, I didn't. Hehehehe.
You were supposed to bring your homework, mister.
I didn't feel like it.
You were supposed to do your homework on the next 2 Nintendo Directs that haven't even happened yet.
Oh, well, I'm going to disappoint a lot of people then.
It's just, how else are you supposed to grind up your clairvoyance ability?
He specced into it, too.
Oh, gosh. I am not concerned.
Brenton, I'm disappointed in you.
Okay, sounds good.
There we go. Welcome, everybody, by the way. We are live, so we got a couple more minutes before things start up, and I think Alex is having some issues. Transition from PC to PC. Oh, what a day. Oh, what a life. Oh, and Romney, I figured you would appreciate this.
So you actually bought the DVDs.
Yep. Well, and Andrea was interested, so we found it for a good deal, and we got it.
Yeah.
We're gonna finish up season 1 of Mighty Morphin, and then we'll watch Sentai. But dude, 50 episodes.
Yeah, it's because in Japan the episodes air every week. It's not, they don't do reruns as much in Japan with the Sentai series.
Yeah, I'm getting that.
Yep. It's just that's what the big budget movies are for now in the Sentai series, where you've got the 50 episodes that they shoot, and then you've got the team-up movie with the previous Sentai, you've got the double feature movie they pair with the Kamen Rider movie of that year, and then, of course, they're adding the third set of movies, the Superhero Taisen movies.
Yay.
Yep. I mean, at least with the first one, at least was a big deal because there hadn't been a big crossover between Sentai, Kamen Rider, and all these other tokusatsu properties, but now it's a Superhero Taisen movie every year. And now with Kamen Rider X8, it crosses over with Namco games as well. Literally, one of the first Kamen Rider movies for X8 literally has him fighting a villain called Dr. Pac-Man.
That's interesting.
Well, it's because Kamen Rider X8 is a gaming-themed Kamen Rider, and so he has villains like Dr. Pac-Man, Xevious, Gradius. He's literally fighting monsters and villains based on various Namco games.
That's so funny. I love that.
Romney, it's pronounced Dr. Pac-Man. Get it right.
Yeah. Still better.
I'm not surprised.
Still a better use of Pac-Man than Pixels.
Well, everything is a better use of anything than Pixels.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody just barely advertised the I can't remember the actual name of the series, the new Adam Sandler series on Netflix. It's like, Adam Sandler's not that bad. I'm like, it's one where he plays like an agent. So
yeah. And to be fair, Adam Sandler isn't a bad actor. I've seen him do really good performances. It's just, it's the Happy Madison audience. Adam Sandler tried doing stuff that was more highbrow and more serious. It didn't make any money, and it was the one where basically he was playing a stand-up comedian who was dying of cancer. Seth Rogen played his protege. The film bombed, and so he's just like, oh, well, people want me to act like an idiot. Fine, I'll give them what they want. You can just see it in the red carpet photos as well. When he does like the press junkets, you just look at his face. There's just no joy in his face anymore.
No.
He's just like, this is my life. Because
I've been typecast.
Yeah, if you want to see a good Adam Sandler performance, I mean, the film itself is not that great, but Adam Sandler's character and performance is really good, and that's Men, Women, and Children. It's an Ivan Reitman film, and it's Adam Sandler doing drama, and he actually does a really good job doing drama.
I've been told he does good drama. I mean, I haven't. The one that people point me to is like Mr. Deeds is one of them, and then is it Spanglish that he did? but I haven't seen either of them. It's like I didn't grow up on Sandler, so I didn't see like all of his movies until now, and so at that point, I'm just not attached to to Adam Sandler.
Yeah, it's just with men, women, and children specifically, it's kind of a ensemble film where it's focusing on multiple stories at once. This is where you get to see him step away from the Happy Madison crowd, the kind of people he usually works with, because he didn't write the script, he didn't direct it. It's him literally working with a different director in a different film. And literally, there's this one scene, it's kind of a spoiler, but it kind of is part of what the film's about for his subplot, where basically he and his wife end up cheating on each other using various dating services. His wife goes to Ashley Madison. He hires a prostitute using Craigslist. And literally, it gets to the point where they've both found out what the other has done. And so it leads to this really intense, like, standoff. Like, it's a subtle standoff between him and the character and the actress playing his wife, where he's just like, look, we could do the whole thing where we pretty much like curse each other out, confront each other on what we've done, and Miller gives this whole speech of like basically planning how most of those arguments go, and he's just like, or we can basically let this pass for both of us, and you can tell me how you want your ex. Because that's literally the setup, is that he's just like, oh, how do you like your ex? And she's just like, aren't you going to confront me or anything? It's like, we could do all this and end up hating each other, or we can just let it pass and tell me how you want your ex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably butchering it, but like just watching that scene alone actually shows really good range for Adam Sandler when he's being serious. And it's not even like, oh, grim serious. It's very much serious, but still a tinge of snarkiness and kind of the kind of a case of when a funny actor is being serious, but you can still tell the character still kind of cracks wise, is sarcastic. It's actually shows like, hey, he actually has talent. It's just that he's been beaten down by his own audience.
Yep. All right, well, let's get the show on the road, people. Are we ready to go?
Yes,
Sounds
I
good.
am.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Sorry, guys, I'm cutting to the chase just because I don't know how long a night we will have tonight, because there's a lot of stuff. Lots of stuff to go over. Lots of little stuff, but lots of stuff. All right. Everybody's good?
Yep.
Here we go, people. And welcome live chats as you guys are starting to filter in. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions, the podcast where we talk about the week's events in geek. I am, of course, your host, Adam Mickelson. I hope everybody's had a good week. By the way, this is the episode for April 21st, 2017. For me, it's been a good week because I actually took some time off, took a nice little vacation for myself, and did some spring cleaning. I think I missed a memo somewhere. That's how a vacation works, right? You do a little bit of spring cleaning, right? Right.
I suppose.
Yeah, whatever floats your goat.
So welcome everybody out to this wonderful podcast tonight. And of course, I'm being joined by my usual panel of fellow YouTubers, fellow awesome guys, fellow geeks, fellow reviewers, fellow awesome overall gentlemen. And let's go ahead and start things off with the returning Brinton Volley of Brinton Volley Gaming. How are you doing tonight, Brinton?
I am doing pretty swell, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm tired, but that's okay because, well, I have a nice clean office and
Awesome.
some new acoustic foam paneling and all that fun stuff. So, and a nice upgraded PC. So I think we're good.
Yeah, I would say so.
And of course, we're also being joined by the Shadow Blazer himself. He came out of the shadows just for you guys' amusement. Alex Short, how are you doing tonight, Alex?
Oh, sorry, my stream's just lagging a little bit. It was a real hassle to get in here tonight. I kept running into 403 errors and then app failures and all sorts of just technical bullshit that kept occurring to me.
Okay.
So that's how he's doing tonight. Frustrated.
Yes, that's how he's doing. I am sorry that that's going on. Is that the new PC that's creating the issues?
I don't think it's the PC. I think it's just Chrome being a pain in the ass.
Okay.
Yeah, Chrome does that once in a while.
Well, all of them do. I mean, like there's a reason I don't use Firefox, and I definitely don't use Explorer or Edge or whatever it wants to call itself today. And also, we're being joined by Stephen Romney of Studio Ghost Utah of From the Shelf, Romney's Reviews. Romney, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Much like you, I recovered from cleaning over the weekend. As many people can see, I now have my bookshelf behind me, so I can actually, actually read the books I have on my shelf instead of having them blocked by clutter and clutter and clutter. And, well, it's been a week of ups and downs. On the one hand, I saw some interesting movies that are in my collection while looking for stuff from the shelf. I started a playthrough, not a Let's Play, keep in mind, people, I don't do those, but I started a playthrough of Professor Layton and the Diabolical Box, and the highlight was supposed to be that I was upgrading to a new phone, but then the new phone started crapping out.
Yeah, I saw the stuff on Facebook. I am sorry, man.
Yeah, it was exciting, and it was working well, but then suddenly, I don't know what, and the people at my carrier didn't know what to do, so it's just like, okay, look, we'll just replace it. We don't know what to do. You've already done everything we would have told you to do.
Yeah, we'll just replace it, because that sounds to me like it would be an easier task than having you go through another 10 steps of troubleshooting.
Yeah,
so
especially...
Hopefully that comes to you soon.
I hope so, but at the very least, they were nice enough to put everything back on my old phone so that I am not without phone. Because nothing's more frustrating when you are without phone.
Indeed. It is a very frustrating aspect. And of course, we are back in the usual stature of the podcast. Now, for the last couple of weeks, if you guys haven't seen it, we've been doing group reviews of basically movies back to back. And that was just the way things worked out. So we actually, if you guys haven't watched those yet, you can see our full-on group reviews of the new Power Rangers, the new Ghost in the Shell that came out, and also for the anime movie, Your Name. And yeah, somebody decides to call me right in the middle of the podcast. That is awesome. So let's go ahead and get into the stories that we have tonight. And I'm just going to warn people in advance. We are adding a new segment to the show because we usually have a thing called Nintendo Talk. And tonight we're going to have a lot of that, but we're also going to add a new one, which I really wish I had some kind of a graphic for, Star Wars Talk. Because, well, it's been one of those weeks. We had major announcements happen while we were doing all of these reviews. And some of it we could get to, some of it was relevant. I tried to group up as much of it as we could, but we also had two major events happen. One was a Nintendo Direct, basically going through the summer announcements, not only for the Switch, but also for the 3DS, so you guys can all look forward to your stuff. But we also had Star Wars announcements, and those are big too. Because lots of listeners wanted us to talk about that. So let's go ahead and get things started with a little bit of somber talk. That should also be a segment on the show. I don't know why it isn't, but it isn't.
That's just because somber talk is pretty much most of the show.
Yeah, kind of.
You know what? Just scrap the Geek News Reviews and Opinions. That's the name of the show now. Geeky Somber Talk.
So, yeah, there you go. We need to change the name again. So the first story that we have tonight, both listeners approached us on it, as well as some of our own panelists actually found it. Or in particular, people like Philip Franco talking about it, which was the possibility of, or at least the discussion at this point, because I don't think anything's major happened yet on the matter, but there's now a big discussion about whether or not YouTubers and Twitch streamers should organize and should form a union, form a guild, form whatever. Although I find that funny because, so many WoW players, they're already in guilds, so they'd be within a guild and within a guild within a guild. I need to stop right now. Brinson, can you stop me? Stop. There we go. Okay. So it's time.
That was my hand reaching through cyberspace, hitting your head.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's why he didn't grind his clairvoyant abilities. He was grinding his teleportation abilities.
Telekinesis. It's a wonderful thing.
It's a very wonderful thing.
So, yeah, the listeners that came, or that brought us the story were simply asking, what are your opinions on this? If they actually did organize, would you join it, kind of thing? But just to bring people up to speed, YouTube and Twitch have some issues treating people who provide for their services greatly. Let's just put it that lightly. Let's take it down a notch and say they treat us like shit. Okay. We've been covering who knows how many copyright issues. We've covered actual lawsuits going on between YouTubers, between organizations and YouTubers. We've had the whole PewDiePie situation. We've had the JonTron situation. There's been numerous issues here, but this has been, I believe, in a discussion longer than this story has actually been around. It's probably been around for a good solid year or so on whether or not, since we as YouTubers, we as Twitch streamers are third-party providers, we are independent contractors rather, whether or not we should just pony up and get a union together and make sure that nobody mistreats us, the noble worker, ever again. I know I summed it all up. Romney's kind of giving me that look of, yeah, there's a lot of details here. And there are. And I'm going to let Romney go over them because Romney will do it better and he won't piss you off, as you all have mentioned to me. Funniest thing, when Romney mentions details, everybody's okay with it. When Drag mentions details, people get either very happy or very angry. It's a bipolar response. This is why we don't do politics, people. This is why we don't do politics, because I'm in the party of I'm gonna piss you off. So let's go ahead and get into this. Romney, could you supply some of the additional details that have come to light with Philip DeFranco, all that stuff that's being talked about?
Well, to basically explain kind of the bigger issue everyone's dealing with, a lot of this talk, and it's a discussion we've had before. I think we've even had it on the show before, back at Radio SLCC, with the creation of the Internet Creators Guild, which does exist. But really where this discussion was prompted was because of news outlets like the Wall Street Journal and the Daily Mail running stories about how ads were running on content that was deemed inappropriate. And although some people have alleged that the screenshots they showed were fake, and even people like the mysterious Mr. Enter showed how they could actually be faked with relative ease, it caused a lot of advertisers to panic and just like, whoa, we don't want our ads associated with these videos if these are the kind of videos that you're putting them on. And keep in mind, this is in the wake of all of the demonetization and advertiser-friendly scandal YouTube was already reeling from. And so with advertisers basically backing off left and right, YouTube has more or less started to kind of lash out at the content creators, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, as they're basically fighting and flailing to keep what advertising revenue they are getting.
Well, and what I understand also on this issue is, you brought up the Wall Street Journal and other media organizations bringing this to advertisers and saying you need to pull out. In a lot of cases, they're doing the exact same circumstances that they did with PewDiePie, where they took, maybe 5 seconds of a 15-minute video and said, that's 80% of this guy's content. Are you sure you want that with your with your product? So that's happening a lot recently. I wanted to add that in.
Yeah, and the sad part is, and I recently watched a video by Anime America that explored this a little bit, and it's kind of part of the same classic trend where you have this rich new medium that people are getting more heavily invested in, and you basically have the old guard throwing a tantrum and trying to basically interfere as much as they can, even though that even they know that they're fighting a losing battle. I mean, when you look at the transition between stage and film, where stage actors saw people who acted in films as sellouts, and when film and television, with people saying, oh, television is just cheap entertainment. And the same case with video games. I'm like, oh, video games is just garbage stuff with television and so on and so forth. And same case with books and comics. And it's the same cycle over and over again. And that's where a lot of this seems to be coming from, which is why outlets like the Wall Street Journal, Daily Mail, and all of these other news sites are kind of piling onto that because, well, their revenue streams are getting hit because more people are getting their information from other sources. Sometimes it's not the best source, but like for every channel like Philip DeFranco who tries to present something in an even-hand context, you then have groups like the Young Turks or Alex Jones that you wonder if they're even from the same planet from time to time. And so, so that's kind of what we're...
The other thing, too, that also needs to get mentioned, sorry, Romney, not meaning to interrupt, but also with organizations like the Wall Street Journal, here's the thing. The internet is actually something that is seriously affecting their revenue streams, because at this point, Wall Street Journal, I'm not saying I would call them irreputable, but that's just because over their last few years worth of activity. But the reason that they're having that is because they're starting to see the internet and the level of saturation that people like PewDiePie are getting, that people like Philip DeFranco are getting. And, well, it's concerning when they see their numbers kind of dipping a little bit, because here's the thing, print media is still kind of on the downturn. And yeah, sure, some organizations, your local news are getting websites, but are they getting as much, say, online saturation as, say, the CNN feed on YouTube? Well, that's not even a good example. But, actually, the example is the one that Romney brought up. The Young Turks probably get way more saturation than Wall Street Journal does now. So this is obviously also a major concern for them. I love the fact that a lot of these stories just don't bring that concept up. But then we have these issues of demonetization, them actually going to our to the people who are putting up ads and saying, you don't want to do that. These are crazy people.
Yeah, and so to kind of get back on topic, that's kind of what we're looking at from a kind of a cultural economic standpoint. Yeah. Of why we're getting these news outlets lashing out at YouTube, and why these advertisers are scrambling now because of the allegations that ads are being put on videos that would be considered offensive, not advertiser friendly. Yeah. And so where it fits into the discussion of whether or not YouTubers should unionize, it's kind of the same. It's kind of almost a knee-jerk reaction. It's not so much that, it's a new discussion. It's more a discussion people are returning to think, okay, is now the time that we should actually unionize? And what people are really wanting by forming a union is not so much just forming a union, but specifically putting together an organization that has bargaining power, that can actually go to these advertisers and go to these corporations and say, hey, here are our demands, here are our terms. You either kind of work with us or we'll take our business elsewhere. Now, there's a couple problems with that, problems that I'm sure we'll discuss later on, but that's kind of what people are actually wanting by YouTubers unionizing. And while we do have the Internet Creators Guild, one, it functions primarily for YouTubers. So Twitch streamers, they're kind of on their own at this point. And two, because of the lack of funding and just the small size of the Internet Creators Guild, they don't really have that bargaining power, and they even, by their own admission, have stated that that bargaining power is not really within the foreseeable future.
Nope. No, it would take years to be able to get that kind of power. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with, because you brought up the ICG, and the ICG, here's the thing, they've got a little bit, but when you're talking about who they're up against in a lot of cases, they're not there. We're talking years of stuff for the ICG. We're talking decades for people like Wall Street Journal, for any media outlet that just doesn't agree or like what you actually have to say, kind of thing. Yeah. And that sucks.
And plus, another thing to consider is that, unlike, say, writers or actors or electrical workers, we're basically, and this includes us on the panel, we're kind of the equivalent of independent contractors or freelancers. None of us have been officially employed by any major company to do what we do on YouTube. We're basically striking out on our own. Now, when it comes to, say, the Writers Guild or the Actors Guilds, they are established. They were hired by studios. They were hired by larger companies for their trade. And with YouTube, we're not quite there yet. I mean, we have sponsorship deals, but those are on a contract basis, on a case-by-case basis.
That's why in a lot of cases you have a lot of content creators. The perfect example that I can bring up was it Biz.tv? The ones that guy with the glasses ran through.
Oh, you mean Blip?
Blip, thank you. Blip.tv, you had organizations like that where a lot of content creators weren't necessarily looking at YouTube because you weren't really earning a whole lot, and there was a bunch of restrictions on it. So, a lot of content creators, including myself, I'll admit this, I've looked at this numerous times, looked at places like Dailymotion and other services to be able to say, okay, if for just this reason, if YouTube just gets to a point where I can't do anything with it, then do I actually need to move over to another service? And yeah, that's come up. But, as Romney's kind of pointed out, unfortunately, I don't mean to be Mr. Negative, but we don't have a whole lot of clout in this situation.
Yeah, at least
And
not
frankly,
at this point.
And frankly, I mean, I've bashed things like Hollywood numerous times over the last few years, but here's the thing: they have the media market in a lot of cases. Not as much as they'd like to admit, but if we actually went into full-on smear campaigns, YouTube isn't winning.
Nope. Especially when you consider
all it takes is for this person and this person and this person to get together, and we have full-on smear campaigns on not necessarily like Markiplier, but anybody who's had even remotely bad reputations are getting just run into the ground. And they will be the example of everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at the prevalence of things like Drama Alert, and that kind of becoming the unintentional face of YouTube, even though, as we know, Drama Alert is basically YouTube's equivalent of TMZ, where we know that's not the whole industry, but that's what a lot of people are assuming it's like because, well, it's become somewhat notorious, especially given that, well, Keemstar does what TMZ does. They basically look for any inklings of dirt and drama, even if there is no actual drama. Case in point, Tom Scott has trolled Keemstar quite a few times by creating fake drama and actually finding it funny when Keemstar tries to pick it up, tries to start something, only to find that there's nothing there. So far, and by Tom Scott I mean Thomas Ridgewell. Some of you may know him as Tom from Ed's World, although he has his own channel. He's successfully done this twice now.
Yeah. So let's actually get into the meat of this, because I actually did get direct questions on this concept. First of all, people wanted to ask if the demonetization issue has actually affected our channels. I'm not going to speak for you guys, but honestly, for me, it hasn't. But that's just because, I don't mean to be rude about this, but we are all in the YouTube sphere fledgling channels. We don't necessarily have a whole lot of followers, so it wouldn't necessarily affect us. But it is concerning when you go to your favorite YouTubers and you find out that they're getting roughly 30% of their monetization or 30% less of their monetization. That is concerning, because that, all of us, I mean, to some extent, mine is more to build a resume, but for those who are actually trying to get up there and be famous and all that, that is a concerning aspect, is that you're not going to be able to pull off the Markiplier money, the PewDiePie money anymore. So let's just go around the table really quick. Has the demonetization issue affected either of you guys' channels?
Actually, my email, my Google email address is attached to the old channel that I was on before I went solo. And so when I applied to be able to monetize my videos under my own name, it told me that I couldn't because my email was already attached to a different AdSense account.
Yeah.
So I just haven't bothered with getting that changed yet. So I can't even currently monetize my videos. So in a sense, yes and no, it has affected me. But in the long term, I don't really see myself, like, even if my fledgling channel were to become a little bit more popular, I still see myself getting my main source of income through a full-time job outside of YouTube. Would it be cool to do YouTube full-time? Absolutely.
Sure.
But yeah, absolutely, it would be super, super awesome. But I've been working on a degree so long in psychology, and I'm finally actually doing something with that degree. Well, with my almost degree, that I would rather continue working outside of YouTube and getting my income that way rather than by monetizing my videos. I'm just happy that I have content that people appear, or at least it appears to me that they enjoy, and it's just something that they look forward to. So that's really all that I personally could ask for. So if I
Yeah.
if I could do it full time, that would be awesome. But at that point, I would probably look more into getting my videos monetized, and
Well,
then
I
I'd
know
be
we've made this clear a couple of times. Sorry to interrupt you, but I want
You're
to make
good.
this clearly.
Yeah.
We've made this clear a couple of times. You're kind of the equivalent of like Jacksepticeye. When
Yeah.
you know, Jack is good, like he's YouTube famous, but when you look at his actual starting, he was just doing this for fun, kind of thing. He was just doing it because his favorite YouTubers were doing it, kind of thing. And he didn't ever expect to be, I think he's what, 15 million viewers, subscribers now. He never expected any of that. So that's kind of where you're at, Brenton. And I would actually agree with that position. Is like you've worked your butt off for this degree, and it's you know for I'm not going to answer the question, people, but it's not media oriented. And so at that point, it's much more worthwhile that your degree be your 9 to 5 passion, and then when you come home, this is what you do for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is not me, for anybody who may or may not be concerned. This isn't me saying that I don't care about those who are YouTube famous, that I don't care about you guys, because I love coming onto the podcast. I love making content. It's like it's something that I also do enjoy, but it ultimately, my passion is to work and help people. And I see my YouTube channel as being a secondary source to that. And I see me being a behavior therapist at the moment being more of me getting paid to do something that I have been working towards for a much longer time.
Yeah.
You know, am I worried about the future of monetization and making, and content creators getting paid for all the hard work they do? Oh yeah, absolutely. That ranges across the board from people like Markiplier all the way down to this podcast. I worry extremely that, one day people who make content for YouTube aren't going to be able to pay their bills or be able to do what they want to do because they're not getting paid for all that hard work and all the effort that goes into what we're doing right now, providing content, providing entertainment. It's worrisome.
Yep. So let's go ahead and go to Romney really quick. Have you actually? I would actually dare say you're probably the one that has probably the most subscribers amongst us. So have you actually been able to see any issue with the demonetization happening?
Not to any of my videos personally, just mainly due to the fact that, yeah, I may have the most subscribers, but with my videos, I average about 20 views per video, and that's on a good day. And so I'm still kind of considered too small for YouTube to really care. And so I haven't really... Yeah, for me, I'd say kind of less than fledgling. I'm still cracking at the eggshell here.
Yeah.
And so it's very much a case of, I haven't seen it affect me personally, but I have seen, like Brenton has mentioned and like you have mentioned, I have seen some of content creators that I do enjoy affected by it, where some of their videos have lost that monetization. And what a lot of people don't realize is that even if you lose that monetization for a day, if that video gets, say, 500 million views in a single day, and it's not monetized, you're not getting any money, that is literally money that is lost, because most people don't usually watch the YouTube videos over and over and over again. That's basically time, effort, money that just disappears because, well, it wasn't monetized during the point that it needed to be. And so, in my case, I haven't been personally affected by it, just by virtue of being too small to really make YouTube my full 9 to 5 thing. And I'm kind of in the same situation as Brenton, although my degree and my passion is more media focused.
Mm-hmm.
For me, my ambitions aren't to just do reviews and film discussion forever. I actually do want to eventually start my own production company and start producing, like feature films, so on and so forth. That's kind of my plan. And there's other ways to make money when you're producing original content. So ad revenue is a drop in the bucket.
For Brenton, this is a fun thing. For you and me, where we have more media focused careers, this is something where we, for all the people that might want to work with us or we might want to work with, they go, what have you been doing? This is another way for us to be able to say, well, I've been doing this and this and this in my focus, but then I also do this on the side because this,
it's basic
because at this point,
it's a stepping stone.
Yeah, because I mean, over the past 5 to 10 years, sure, you can be specialized in a granted in a piece of media. You can be specialized in it, but if you don't at least have some chops in other media formats, like for me, it's radio. I want to do radio and podcasting, so I can do the audio, but obviously I'm also doing video. I'm also doing a lot of those other things because it also helps with that. So this has got a different focus for me and Romney, but you know, we're before people jump down our throats, we just approach this kind of realistically. You know, if we got YouTube famous, great, but that wouldn't be what we want to do long term.
Yeah. And in the case, I wouldn't be like, if I were to become YouTube famous, I wouldn't be doing the whole YouTube famous where I do just vlogs. I would probably go more the Rooster Teeth route, where it's a case of, okay, I'm established. I have a brand. Let's use that influence to create more and more cool things. I mean, when you look at where Rooster Teeth started, they were just making Halo Machinima videos, and now you have stuff like Day 5 or Ruby, and a lot of these other high quality, well, subject of debate, but still very intensive, very impressive shows and movies that they put out.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, at that point, that's the thing, is like if we became YouTube focused, then, or YouTube famous, if you want to call it that, then we would shift the focus of the channels, kind of thing, to be able to show that. Now, unfortunately, we could also be asking Alex tonight, but unfortunately, for those who are not joining us live, he was just having major internet connection issues, so he just decided to bail out. So unfortunately, you guys are going to need to ask his opinions on the matter. The next question that I need to get into is, and we got a lot of this actually, if a YouTube union, like a legit YouTube or Twitch union, were to be formed, would you opt to join it? Kind of thing. Like, would you feel like you needed to join it in order to be able to keep your channel going and whatnot? And I'm going to go ahead and start with Brenton, because again, his focus is outside of YouTube, but would you feel it necessary to do that to keep your channel going?
That's a super great question. I would have to say no, because because it's not going to affect me in the sense of being able to obtain an income and live my life, because I have a full-time job that allows me to live my life, and I do have an income that comes in and everything. I still think that I personally think that this whole union thing is an awesome idea, because it will help channels that have been established and channels that are trying to get established to be able to continue making the content that they want, be able to get paid for the content that they create. For some reason, there's like this one comment in my head that I keep wanting to say that kind of deviates from the question, but I was talking with an old coworker from my previous occupation, and we were just like briefly talking about how we listen to music, and she says, "Oh, I do it through YouTube Red." And she was like, "Did you ever consider getting YouTube Red?" And I was like, "No, actually, I'm not a huge supporter of YouTube Red." And she was like, "Oh, why is that?" And I said, the reason why I don't support YouTube Red is not because I'm not YouTube famous, that I don't have PewDiePie number subscribers or PewDiePie views or enter famous YouTube channel name here views and subscribers. It's just more that it takes ad revenue away from those who deserve it more. And what I mean by that is that, like PewDiePie, Markiplier, Dan the Diamond Man, like all these guys that have over 10 million like subscribers that get millions and millions of views every single day. They don't need more money coming into their pockets through these. And I'm not treading lightly when I say this. Their YouTube Red original shows, they're mediocre. Like there's nothing original about it.
That's charitable. No, you know what, Brenton? I'm calling that out. I've seen those shows. Mediocre? I wouldn't even call them that.
That's putting it lightly.
I mean, there's nothing special about it. I just sit
No.
there and I'm like, YouTube, if you want to make original content, actually make original content instead of putting more money into pockets of those who really don't need that extra money, in my honest opinion. So I was like, that's why I don't support YouTube Red, because it takes money out of the pockets of people like you and Romney, who are trying to make a living out of the media world, but they can't because they're most likely are subscribed to YouTube Red, and they're not watching ads off your videos, so you're not getting money. So I think this union thing is like fantastic. I personally don't feel like I need to join it, but I feel like the underdogs of YouTube would be able to greatly benefit from it. And I think it's a fantastic idea. Like, so many content creators are getting shit on in the past like year 2 years over some of the silliest of things, and so I think it's about time that people rise up and it's like, hey, look, this type of medium, we work hard to make good content. We should be paid to make good content.
Actually, before we get to Romney, your story reminded me of something. So, I can't remember if it was my older brother or my sister-in-law who approached me. So, my nieces are big fans of MatPat. Okay, they love game theory, and one of the reasons that they love it is because they've all been brought into the whole Five Nights at Freddy's thing, and MatPat's been a part of that. And apparently, they were pressuring pretty hard for like a YouTube Red subscription because they wanted to watch what was it called? It was a Game Lab that MatPat was doing,
aka MatPat Mythbusters.
So at that point, I'm not going to say names or anything like that, but I was approached on the matter. It's like, is YouTube Red worth it? And I had seen clips of these shows and finally got my hands on like because I think for a while there they were doing free episodes to be able to get people motivated. And I watched them and I looked them in the eye and just went, tell you what, I'll actually pay for the service if the same production level of effort that goes into this piece of crap goes to improving their actual products. Yeah, that's right. I'm not making friends tonight. Game theory, you could be a whole lot better, my friend, given the money that you have.
The thing is, Adam, I completely agree with you. I feel like they're the peak of, like, I feel like the actual game theory videos that are good are the videos he did on the Five Nights, the FNAF series.
Yeah, it's guaranteed viewers, and at that point, it's like, well, but then your other stuff has to fall by the wayside. One of the things that actually irritated me was he was trying to get a new show, Deadlock, off the ground, and well, how many times did Deadlock get held back by another FNAF theory? That's the frustrating part of that.
It's just like his content, I just don't enjoy his content anymore because it's not really like, because he also has the film theorists, and the thing is, like, his content right now, it has nothing to do with film theory or game theory. Like, I think he even did like a whole montage of like, leave PewDiePie alone, and it's like, how is that fucking game theory? Like, excuse my language, but I was like, what the actual hell? Like, how is this a game? And then they did like a whole film theory video on his channel, and I was like, how is that film?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
your content doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah,
so
I think he should just change the name of the channels to Zeitgeist Theory, because that's pretty much what his channel has become, is just talking about what's in the zeitgeist instead of what the channels were actually about.
So, I mean, if he wants to return back to the content he made during his whole FNAF saga, which I thought was brilliant, I didn't have to play the games to be completely sucked into the lore. But when he actually wants to start finally doing stuff like that again, I'll be more than happy to watch him. But I mean, until then, I am bored. He's not interesting to me anymore. His videos don't provide the clickbait necessary for me to say this is good.
Honestly, the only reason that I'm still subscribed to the game theorists is when Gaijin Guma put something up. Honestly, that's the real reason I'm subscribed. I don't care about the latest game theory. I care about the latest culture shock or the latest game exchange.
I mean,
So,
if he could break away from game theory, I think that would benefit him a lot because I've
Yeah.
like watched a couple of his
Well-
like some of his content, and I was like, oh, this is actually really really interesting. I think this would be like me personally. I think it'd be fantastic if he were to separate away from it because he could do something entirely on his own with that content.
yep.
He does
So-
have his own channel. I hope you both realize that.
Yes, he does.
I
And
did not know
he-
that.
He rebranded it. Well, here's the thing. He has the contract with the Game Theorist, so his game exchanges, his current ones, go there. But he does have Gaijin Goomba Media, which he just rebranded that. But a majority of the culture shocks, I think, now go there. And all of his old videos are there, too. And I think he's got a deal with the Game Theorist that eventually, after a certain amount of time, he can bring them back to his channel. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, he does collabs. And he does a bunch of other stuff with other YouTubers to help them. And in some cases, this is why I like him, because these other channels aren't necessarily as big as he is. So he's bringing them up by discussing major anime subjects or gaming subjects. Romney, let's move on really quick because we've already been on this subject for a while. Romney, if kind of get into your opinions here, if there actually was a YouTube union, a Twitch union, would you feel compelled to actually join it to protect your content?
All right. Well, before I answer, let's kind of clear up a distinction here because a lot of people are saying union, but there is a bit of a distinction because what people are actually wanting is a guild or a trade association because a union is formed specifically among employees of a company. And, well, we're not employees of YouTube. YouTube is basically the store. We are the people who manufacture the products that are in that store. So what we're wanting to form is a guild or a trade association where we would come together and basically come together to create that bargaining power. And so whether or not I would join it, it would depend on what it would be trying to accomplish. Now, we have the Internet Creators Guild, but bargaining power is not really in its foreseeable future, so there's not much point in joining it because it's not really offering anything. And so to get me to join, the first thing that would need to be done is that you can't section it out between YouTube, having one for YouTube, one for Twitch, one for Screenwave. The first thing you would need to do is to basically have it be a guild for all web video content creators, for basically all web content creators, because
Thank you for clarifying that, because we have too many services at this point for them all to have their own individual thing.
Yeah, and so that's the first thing that would need to happen is that you would have to basically come together across platform lines to come together as a guild to say, okay, let's all negotiate together, because part of what guilds do to get the demands they want is, well, going on strike. So it has to be a case of, okay, we're all coming together to negotiate for this thing from all these platforms. If they don't agree with us, then we have to not make content for these platforms until they come to the negotiating table. Like we saw with the voice actor strike that's kind of still in the background going on between the actors guilds and the video game industry. And so that's the first key thing, is you need to bring all of these creators from all these different platforms, and not just video creators. You need to bring in bloggers. You need to bring in people who run their own websites based on writing. You need to bring in people who create content exclusively for the web into this, for lack of a better term, metaphorical, rhetorical guild in order to help create that bargaining power. So that way you have enough people involved to say, okay, we don't like what these platforms are doing to us. Let's go on strikes. That way we're not creating content for them and they lose out on ad revenue.
Yeah.
And that's really the big thing here, is that we need enough people across all of these platforms to actually come together, and we're still not quite there because there aren't enough of us who make our livelihoods solely through these platforms. There's a number of them, sure, but not enough to actually pose as a legitimate threat.
The other thing to consider too is that a lot of these people who you think might be YouTube famous, they're not necessarily. I mean, I know a bunch of WoW streamers who don't have the millions and millions of subscribers, but you want to know how they get their money? They got very solid sponsorships. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, that's a whole other animal kind of thing. You know, I know a lot of WoW streamers that that have very legit sponsorships from Steel Series, Razer, all that stuff. So they're dealing with the companies in general on that one, and that's why they're able to provide the production that makes it look like they've got millions of subscribers, but really they're like in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, and that raises another issue. If the content creators go on strike, what about those sponsorships? Would those who exist on those sponsorships join the strike, or would they scab and just continue making content for those sponsors? And therein you run into the first major problem of an internet creator guild. As for whether or not I would join it, if it actually got organized to the point where you had it across platform lines, you had enough people with enough clout actually coming together to make these negotiations and actually having bargaining power being an end goal and not just something that's in the future like we have with the Internet Creators Guild, which I can't say I blame them, then I would probably join. But as given what we have now, they're not quite there yet. And again, still limited mainly to YouTube, although yes, I know Bernie Burns of Rooster Teeth is on their advisory board, but it's still very much a case we're still not quite there yet.
No.
What it would take would basically be the equivalent of finding, like, say, for the sake of example, if you had someone like Prince or David Bowie who became famous solely through YouTube, that was all they did, and they had enough clout to actually bend advertisers to their will. If we were to get people like that into that guild and they actually were on our side, you'd actually have a chance. But again, just because you're YouTube famous doesn't mean you're famous everywhere else.
And here's the thing: before people start, and yeah, this subject is running a little long, so we will need to probably tail it pretty soon. But for all the people who are probably bringing up, well, you do have celebrities. You have Will Wheaton. There's a problem. You need to have, like, for this to be able to work. You know, you brought up David Bowie, and that would be an awesome one. But the way that I actually see that this needed to work is you need to have Alec Baldwin behind you. Like, you need to have legitimate actors, legitimate media moguls behind you to be able to tread water at this given juncture.
Yeah. And the point that I was trying
years to happen.
Yeah, and the point that I'm trying to make, I was using Bowie as an example, but I wasn't meaning like actually David Bowie. I was meaning someone who strictly through YouTube, strictly through creating content for the internet, had that much clout, had that much influence. And again, we don't really have that, given that when most people pull up YouTube, who are the people they tend to pull up? PewDiePie, Markiplier,
occasionally
John, maybe.
Yeah, occasionally they'll bring up Felicia Day, and Felicia Day, while she does have a lot of really great YouTube clout now, not necessarily. She does stuff on YouTube, but she's also got an acting career to fall back on too. You also have people like Will Wheaton that are gaining up there. Like, I think honestly his career has been helped because of the internet, but it's not necessarily the level of clout that this would take to actually tread water on the issue.
So are the only ones.
Go ahead, Remy.
So are the only ones that even come remotely close to having that kind of clout would be the people at Rooster Teeth, because they're the kind of company that creates content exclusively for the internet.
Yep.
But, well, they're doing the smart thing and creating their own platform away from YouTube to generate money that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's the thing.
And they're not going to go on strike against themselves. I can tell you that.
Nope. And just kind of, because I really don't have a whole lot to say on this matter, so this is actually going to be a really great wrapping up point for this concept. This is where I piss off the internet people, because it doesn't really matter if there was a guild, a union, whatever you want to call it. I would be strongly disincentivized to join it myself, but that's just because again, this is more of a resume thing. If I got internet famous, then maybe I'd reconsider this concept. But as things stand for me right now, I'm not necessarily considering it, because it's not going anywhere anytime soon. The best way to be able to put it is it's a train that's moving very, very, very slow. So if I need to jump on, I could still jump on, kind of thing. And I know where I'm actually standing on that matter. Also, a couple of other factors would need to be put into place. I would want to go do my homework, make sure that this would be beneficial for my channel. This would be beneficial for me as a content creator. And we don't have that yet because there isn't a legitimate guild or union or anything like that. So as a creator, I'd have questions. And so the way I'm kind of approaching this is I'm not joining anything until I get my questions answered, kind of thing. So I'm sorry if that pisses people off, but I'm not joining a bandwagon when I don't know what the bandwagon stands for. So at that point, let's go ahead and wrap things up because there really isn't a whole lot else to talk about with this matter. And here's the thing: if there's more water to be treaded here, we'll obviously cover it again, and we'll be able to get Alex's opinions and maybe even all those opinions on the matter. But we have so much more to get into, people. So let's go ahead and get into the subjects that people wanted us to talk about for the last couple of weeks.
You kind of almost went to like a Southern preacher voice for a second.
I'm okay with that.
Let me go ahead and go into this for you. Now we're going to be talking about the holy Nintendo talk. We're going to be talking about Nintendo. We're going to be talking about Mario. We're going to be... Nah, I'm not keeping that going on. I could go on for like another couple of minutes, but it's not going to work.
That would be fun.
So we've had a lot of Nintendo news, and lots of it is from either last week, 2 weeks ago. We literally have had a timeline. So we're just going to go ahead and go through it as quick as we can. First of all, the NES Classic has been discontinued. So for those who wanted to bring this up and wanted our honest opinions on the matter, yeah, the NES Classic Edition that was supposed to be basically a little game hub that looked like a little NES. You could plug a USB controller in there and play like up to 30 games on it. It has been discontinued. My thoughts on the matter, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to go over. Nintendo made a call, and I know a lot of people don't agree with that call, but it's their call to make. And while the NES Classic was cool for people who wanted to have that nostalgia, it wasn't as cool for me because, you know, when their library is so much bigger than 30 games, it wasn't worth it to me. So can I say that I'm disappointed by this? Yeah, but only because of the friends and family that wanted to get it and now can't. Brinton, Romney, where were you guys on the NES Classic?
Honestly, I was pretty much in the same boat as you, where I just saw like there's not enough games that are on there that I don't already have on my Wii U and my 3DS. And so that was already done. I was like, well, I already have Link to the Past. I already have Earthbound. I already have this, that, and the other.
Or
why would I want to buy
other means? Cough.
Yeah, and so it's very much why would I pay the money for a console for games that I already have and a bunch of other games that I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it kind of sucks if you haven't gotten it yet. And it's very much I'm sure the scalpers are happy. Those who basically bought it in books, like it's going to be worth a lot more now that it's discontinued. So, but honestly, given the nature of the plug and play consoles, I mean, I even have one on my bookshelf there, if you can tell by the Pac-Man there. And
yeah,
so
I
with the nature
of that.
Yeah, with the nature of the plug-and-play consoles, it's not that surprising. Things cycle in and out of the market all the time, and this was Nintendo trying to get their feet wet. Granted, they made a few missteps. I mean, compared to that, which I have, which was probably only like $20 or $30, to the NES Classic, which was a full $60. And that's a lot of money that you're being asked to put down for a plug-and-play console that you can't add any games to. And so, investment-wise, it just wasn't as feasible. So honestly, I'm not that surprised. It's just a case of, hey, this product didn't work, so we're just going to move on.
And it's $60 for 30 games. It wasn't paying for itself as far as I was concerned. Because the NES library, I think, it's capped off at like 250, 300 games, I think. I'm not sure the exact amount for US only, but we're talking a lot of NES games. So at that point, 30 games, I mean, maybe if it was 100, 150, maybe it would have justified $30, $40. But yeah, that's the thing, is that the NES library, you can, I hate to say this, Nintendo, but you can get it. You can get it anywhere now. You can get Japanese import stuff. So that just wasn't worthwhile. at least to me.
I mean, if they had a way for you to add to it, like maybe through the upcoming subscription service that Nintendo is rolling out with the Switch, if they did something like that, okay, you bought this NES Classic. If you pay the subscription service, you get 5 games each month, just 5 games from the NES library that you can play to your heart's content each month. That would be a better way to make that sort of thing sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. Brinton, your thoughts on the NES Classic being discontinued?
Ditto to everything you both just said.
It really is that. I mean, I feel bad for the people who wanted it, and yes, it looks cute and it's great, it's nostalgic, but 30 games, this isn't enough.
I mean, the biggest thing for me, and I'll just reiterate it again, just to get it all for anybody, for those who are listening, I can pick up most of those games for the Wii U, and some of them even will work on the new Nintendo 3DS. So I don't need to spend $60 when I can spend in a considerable fraction of that price just to put it on my Wii U or my new 3DS. So that is again where we all three are at, and I kind of have a feeling that what we are about to talk about next is just going to be the same thing all over again.
Yes, because the cycle has repeated itself. This is not an official announcement yet, but it's rumor right now, and I think it's because Nintendo's getting their feelers out. There is talk of the SNES Classic coming soon, and I think they're just trying to get a gauge for who would actually buy it. And that, while that's cool, it's NES Mini to me all over again. Sure, that is going to be cool for some, but depending on the games that you actually put on it, I'm not really going to care, kind of thing. My thoughts are, if the SNES Classic Edition actually happens, great. If people can get their hands on it, if they produce more, great, good on you. Romney, Brinton, any other additional thoughts other than that?
The only way you'd really get me to buy the SNES Classic, and this would be like long shot, all the planets would have to align, frogs would have to do fractions, pigs would have to be flying around in organized air squadrons for this to happen. But basically, the only way you could really get me to buy the SNES Classic is if somehow Nintendo decided to sneak onto it something like, oh, it's an English translation of Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, completely patched in English and legal. Like, if they did something like that, then yeah, I would probably buy it. But again,
and by the way, that Mother 3 translation that you've been wanting for years, here you go.
Yeah, that's what it would take. But again, you'd have to basically watch for the Blue Angels piloted entirely by pigs before that sort of thing happened.
Pretty much. It's actually really funny because, like, I tried to look up commercials for this and accidentally came across one of the I don't remember what it was called, but it was like one of those Retron consoles, which lets you play multiple cartridges in it. And this one was unique because it actually added USB sockets, so you could actually just download the ROMs and put it in there and play it. And it instantly upgraded everything to HD, so you could play that. I honestly thought that was more interesting than the SNES Classic, just because I could go and find all these ROMs and then just play them on this console. Brinton, anything to add on that?
Again, most of the games, I mean, obviously nothing's been announced. It's all rumor, but a lot of SNES games, again, you can play on Wii U and the new Nintendo 3DS. So once again, what is probably going to be expensive, I can get a lot of games for the fraction of that price. The end.
Yes. So let's actually get into the math of the situation this time around. So the next story that people wanted us to talk about was, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, Nintendo divulged the sales numbers for the Switch in the United States. And it turns out that the Wii has sold, or the Switch has sold better than we thought. So it looks like as of this story, which was a couple of weeks ago, the Switch has sold 906,000 units, which has made it become the fastest selling console in Nintendo's history. That's saying a lot, considering that we had the Wii and the Wii beat the NES. So that's great as far as numbers are concerned. Although I think that it does go on later to admit that Legend of Zelda, when you count both Wii U and Switch launch, it sold better. wow, I'm not surprised by that because it was launching on 2 separate consoles. But yeah, let's get into the numbers here. 906,000 consoles bought within the month of March. That is awesome. That's really great for the Switch.
Absolutely. I'm just going to hop right into this because I'm a huge fan of my Nintendo Switch, and this is what like we all and what the community has been talking about for the longest time, that Nintendo needed something to bring them back into the limelight. And I feel that the Nintendo Switch is doing that. I just absolutely love the fact that I can just go anywhere the hell that I want, and I can play Breath of the Wild or Puyo Puyo Tetris or enter in game here. It's absolutely amazing, and it's just I don't know, because it's not like this is the first time that we've seen something like this. I mean, we have the 3DS, we have the PlayStation Vita, but there's just something that's so strangely unique about the Switch that you can't quite put into words that makes you want one. And I just absolutely love it. And so this makes me super, super happy for Nintendo. It makes me super, super happy that that finally this huge ditch that they dug for themselves and threw themselves into with the Wii U is rising them out of it.
Not just the Wii U. I mean, that ditch was being dug during Wii years. So at that point, we're talking like the last 2 console generations, where you could say like the first half for the Wii was good, but the second half, no. Financially, it wasn't good. And then the Wii U has not been beneficial for them in the slightest. I think every year, I think we even confirmed it, every year that they had it, they were in the red when it came to Wii U sales, but their handheld sales were okay. But I'm at least happy that we're having really good numbers for the Switch, because again, I don't want to see Nintendo fail. It's entirely a possibility, but I don't want to see that happen. I wish I had as much praise for the Switch as Brinton does. I don't hate the Switch, but really my issue is, as it's always been, games. I want more stuff on it. Like, it feels like I could be playing my Switch a whole lot more. But given what we have thus far, I'm not necessarily complaining about it. Romney, what are your thoughts on the numbers for the Switch, as well as kind of, well, yeah, that's right, you don't have a Switch, so.
Yeah, I'm still in the camp that's still, again, disgruntled Wii U owner over here. And I'm still in the camp that hasn't been sold on it because, again, I grew up with the Legend of Zelda franchise. I know it's a large franchise. It's just, I'm sorry, Nintendo, but a Zelda game's not going to be enough to get me to buy the Switch. You need to have more titles out there, especially more third-party support. Basically, I need more than just a glorified Zelda machine. Yeah, it's a good game from what I've heard. I haven't bought it for the Wii U just yet, mainly because I've got a backlog upon backlogs of games downloaded to my PS4.
But to Nintendo's credit, a lot of the games that are doing really, really well right now on the Switch, at least the last time I looked at numbers, weren't Nintendo games. They were indie games. So that's at least a good thing. I'm at least happy about that.
And at least it's nice that it's actually selling decently and may helpfully bring them back into the black. And it's very much, it's good that it's actually selling really well in the United States. I'm still not sold yet. It's very much, okay, I see what you got. You gotta, what else you got, Nintendo? You haven't, I'm still one of the people that hasn't adopted early, so I'm still the kind of person you need to convince.
Was I the only one that kind of sat there and went, I've seen this mechanic, I've seen this approach from Nintendo. I now want to see the Japanese sales. I now want to see the European sales for the Switch. I'm happy and all it's doing well in the US, but what are you not telling me? Where did it not sell well? Kind of thing.
Yeah, that's another thing to consider. Because is it doing well enough in Japan? Is it doing well enough in the PAL regions? Is it doing well enough in other parts of the world that basically tell you that it is viable? Because granted, there are a lot of things in the Japanese video game market that do well in Japan and pretty much stay in Japan. Like, that's exists. But it very much is. I'm with you. It's very much, okay, it's selling well in the US. What about the rest of the world? Is it actually doing as well as you're saying it's doing in other parts of the world?
Yeah, exactly. So
Well, I did just find here quickly, just because I have it up. In Spain, the Nintendo Switch became the most successful game console launch in the country's history, selling around 45,000 units in 3 days. The Switch also became France's biggest console launch after selling 105,000 units in the country on opening weekend,
okay.
bigger than the previous record holder, which was the Wii.
So that's
And
over 1 million consoles sold.
yeah, so it looks like it's doing pretty well in Europe.
Okay, so at least we have the PAL region figured out. I have a feeling in Japan it probably did fairly well, but I have nothing to confirm that. But we'll have to see the additional numbers as they come out. So yeah, this is a great thing for Nintendo as far as I'm concerned. This is great money for them, but I think Romney kind of pointed it out. They were hurting way before this point. So does this pay off the debts that they had? Does this put them in the black so that we can then move forward? I don't know that yet, but hopefully this
it's
is more
still
optimistic.
too early to tell. Like, it's still way too early to tell. I mean, between the regime change, between the changes in marketing and changes in approach for a lot of things in-house, it's still too early to tell. I think when we'll really see if it's brought them to the black will be this coming holiday season. That will probably be the make or break it moment for the Switch.
Well,
That is extremely true. I can completely agree with that.
I'm basically just waiting until the year is over, and then I'm just gonna say year in review. How did Nintendo do? Because that's really what's going to matter. Because here's the thing: different markets have different really great selling times. So, and especially, and Romney's right. The holiday season is really what's going to clench it in the U.S. You have to have some really awesome titles.
Well, by the time,
especially when you could.
Sorry, I was just going to say, by the time that the holiday seasons roll around, so like November, December, there's going to be a lot of games on the Switch because we're getting ARMS in June, Splatoon 2 in July. It's rumored that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will come out sometime in the fourth quarter. We got Super Mario Odyssey, Skyrim for the Switch. We're getting Minecraft for the Switch. So there's a lot that is coming to this console. Personally, and even like Nathan and I have talked about it, he was just like, if we didn't get a Switch in March, we totally would be getting them in December, because he and I have discussed this, and we personally feel that if you didn't get a Switch in March, that the next best time to do it is December.
Yeah, and they'll have. I think they'll honestly have bundles for it, so you'll be able to get Breath of the Wild bundled with it, or Mario Odyssey bundled.
I mean, there's going to be a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe bundle. That's already been confirmed. So I'm sure they're going to be those are going to be something like hot cakes come post Thanksgiving.
Yep. Romney, your thoughts?
The point I was going to make is that, you've got a lot of these like highly anticipated titles coming out later this summer, but they've also been hedging their bets. Now I'm probably speaking of this as as the resident Fire Emblem fanboy here, because Nintendo, I think, realized, hey, Fire Emblem caters to a much different fan base than, say, Zelda or Mario. And so with Fire Emblem, they've been hedging a lot of their bets. You've got Fire Emblem Echoes coming out next month. And you've got Fire Emblem Warriors, that was part of the Switch presentation, also coming out for the new 3DS. And so they're probably still going to be playing it fairly safe with a lot of those more niche franchises that cater to older audiences. And that's kind of why I haven't been sold yet. It's because all the Fire Emblem stuff is already coming to 3DS, so why do I need to buy a Switch?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. One of the things that I've been telling people is, like, how do you want to play the game? If you're comfortable playing it on the 3D, like on your 3DS, then there's no reason for you to go out and buy a $300 hybrid console. The Switch is there for the type of gamer that feels comfortable playing it the way that it has been designed to be played, and the 3DS is there because it's comfortable in the way that it's been designed for people to play it. So, personally, in the end, if somebody is not adopted or sold on the Nintendo Switch, that's completely and totally fine, just because of just how Nintendo has broken out and has made a home console portable, and then they still have their portable console.
And the other thing to consider, at least for me, is simply this. Okay, I'm actually, so not only am I putting out a checklist saying, these third-party developers are actually doing this. My other thing too is, okay, this is a Nintendo console. We have a Zelda game. It's coming. We have a Mario game. It's coming. We know what it is. There's going to be a new Splatoon. I'm great about that. We also have new IPs in ARMS. I'm technically counting Splatoon 2 as Splatoon as a new one because it started at the Wii U, and it's getting a sequel for the Switch this summer. We have new IPs, but the hardcore Nintendo fan in me wants to go, okay, when's my Metroid announcement? When's my Star Fox announcement? When's my Earthbound announcement? Kind of thing. And that's really what I'm watching for right now. Kind of thing. I think that they got a pretty solid lineup for the moment, but I'm also going to be watching what are your indie developers going to be doing, what are your third-party developers going to be doing, and what are you going to be doing. So the one thing I'm just going to point out to people is that they're doing well. Let's wait till E3 though, because that's when their holiday announcements are going to be made, and we really need to know what they have coming for the holidays. So let's go ahead and get into the final Nintendo announcements that we have, which was from the Nintendo Direct that happened on April 12th. So I actually found an article that just summed up all of the stuff because Aldo will be so proud of me. I didn't watch it. I didn't see anything that I was remotely interested in, so I didn't watch it. Sorry, confession. So let's go ahead and go over some of the announcements that happened. We had Pikmin for 3DS, which is great. I love me some Pikmin. I'm happy about that. And there is a Pikmin amiibo coming. There's also a game called Ever Oasis. I have not been able to find too much information on that. Do you either of you have that?
Not too much. I just remember what I saw in the actual presentation, which, unlike Adam, I actually did watch the Nintendo Direct.
I also watched the Nintendo Direct.
Great, you both are going to punch my sources now. Okay.
No, that's strictly Aldo thing. We'll just point out which sources for him to punch, and then he'll do the punching.
Yeah, we have your back, but we don't have your back.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and so basically with Ever Oasis, from kind of my understanding, it's kind of an action adventure sort of thing, kind of exploration heavy, since the idea is that you're basically in the last oasis, and you basically have to go out and explore, fighting against baddies wanting to take over said oasis. It's kind of got a bit of a level 5-ish sort of vibe, although I don't think it's level 5 that's working on it. It's very much a case of, it's just kind of a classic simple adventure game that is kind of par for the course for Nintendo. The characters are fairly well designed. I don't remember too much about the gameplay because it's been a while since I've seen it, but it looks like an okay title.
But again, this is a 3DS title too, so that's great. The next one that we have is yet another 3DS announcement. This is basically for 3DS announcements. Monster Hunter Stories. We got some gameplay showcased for that, so Monster Hunter fans rejoice. Yokai Watch 2 is getting a definitive edition called Psychic Specters. It's also getting a new online multiplayer feature. Okay, well, for those who are...
Basically, the way to explain it is that Level 5, because they're the ones who designed Yokai Watch, they're basically doing what Nintendo used to do with Pokemon, because with Yokai Watch 2, you had fleshy spirits and bony souls, and so, much like how you had the Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, here you're getting, you have fleshy spirits, bony souls, and now Psychic Specters, which is basically the best of both worlds in a unique experience.
Yeah, exactly. So for Yokai Watch fans, you can rejoice. You got more stuff coming. The next thing that we had was Culticept Revolt, which is a card game coming to the 3DS in August.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixture card game / board game / RPG. So basically, imagine if someone took Monopoly, but made it instead of, the goal is to buy properties, the goal is to basically make it through the dungeon, beating monsters and beating the bosses, all as you maneuver around a game board and play down different cards. So I looked at the trailers and it's okay, it's interesting, may not be my cup of tea, but I could see why it would I can see the appeal.
Yeah, exactly. We also have RPG Maker FES, which is also getting DLC, including Disgaea content. So
yeah, now that one I'm just looking at it and I'm just like, why would you buy? Here's my thought: why would you ever buy RPG Maker for a console? because honestly, it's better on PC because you can import your own sprites if you have it on PC. You can import your own music. If you know how to program in things like Ruby, you can basically create your own game engine and not be limited to the Dragon Quest style engine that RPG Maker defaults to. So I look at this and I'm just like, why the hell would you ever buy it for a console? No, really, why the hell would you ever buy it for a console?
Here's my only reason that I'll give you, Romney, is that I wouldn't necessarily buy it for me, but I just so happen to have a little niece who is getting into level design and absolutely loved being able to do things in Little Big Planet. So for her, I'd do it. Like, because that would be something to help expand her horizons. And unfortunately, she doesn't have a PC that's powerful enough to be able to do a lot of this stuff.
True, but then again, RPG, like, it's understand. I can see where you're coming from. It's a good introductory thing for kids who are interested in game design.
Yeah,
that's pretty much kind of where it begins and ends, though, for people who are kind of newbies at this. If you're someone who's looking to, say, creating an actual, like, well thought out role playing game, don't waste your time on the 3DS version. Go ahead and just get RPG Maker MV. I have RPG Maker VX Ace. I got it for pretty cheap through Humble Bundle, so it's kind of a case of, unless if you're a kid, if you have a kid or know a kid who's getting into game design and you want to ease them into it to see if it's something they want to do, then that's a good choice. But it's like any tool. If you're if you want to make a serious RPG experience, don't buy RPG Maker for a console. You're only limiting yourself. Bottom line is that, you know, maybe as like a high school present for this girl, we'll get her like a powerful PC that can do like really good game design stuff. But for now, this is a good intermediary solution, just to keep her interest. Yeah, I just worry how long before someone uploads something salacious that causes Nintendo to shut down the servers, like they do with SwapNote. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? So the next thing is also Miitopia is getting a localization. So this is something that I saw coming at some point. Miitopia was going to make its way here. Fire Emblem Echoes is getting DLC. Apparently you can get experience and money maps. They are a thing, and also a season pass is coming for it. So this is the Shadows of Valentia, or is this another game? It's Shadows of Valentia, and basically with the regards to the DLC, all I say this: if you've played the previous two Fire Emblem games, stand on your head if you didn't see this coming. I'm sorry, you were the guy talking about it. I had to do the joke. So there you go. Yeah, it's because honestly, it's not that surprising. The whole EXP and money maps. Yeah, those are always the first two DLC maps Nintendo releases for Fire Emblem, because what does everyone want to do? They need more gold. They need more EXP. So those are the maps you come out with first. Exactly. The next thing that they're going to be celebrating this year is the 25th anniversary of our favorite little pink puffball, Kirby. And with that, we actually have two new games coming out. Team Kirby Clash Deluxe, which will be a co-op game, free to start, coming to the 3DS eShop. But we also have Kirby Blow Up Blast. That's coming out this summer and is also another eShop exclusive. So these are great celebrations for the 25th anniversary of Kirby. We also have a new multiplayer game, Kirby game, coming this winter for 3DS. So here we go. We're starting to get the holiday 3DS announcements. We also have Bye Bye Box Boy is getting amiibo features and launches literally that day. We also have basically about that. Yeah, and to explain to people, Bye Bye Box Boy, the reason it was getting a lot of heavy promotion is that it's also designed by HAL Laboratories, which creates the Kirby franchise. And so Nintendo's just like, hey, you like Kirby? Why not buy this other game that the people who make Kirby also made? And it's kind of like a platformer puzzle thing. Like, looking at the trailers, I haven't played Bye Bye Box Boy, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of Thomas Was Alone, except with a bit more quirks to it. Mm-hmm. That and I have a feeling that this is not going to be the only thing that we get. If it's the 25th anniversary of Kirby, it's going to get Kirby features. I have a feeling Kirby features are going to be, because of the anniversary, they're going to be everywhere. Well, yeah. Like, one of the things they already teased in the Nintendo Direct was special Kirby-themed skins you could get for Bye Bye Box Boy that are modeled after Kirby, the Waddle Dee. Those are the main ones they've shown, but I'm sure they're going to add stuff like Meta Knight and King Dedede, and maybe even like a Knuckle Joe one. Those are the most recognizable Kirby characters I can think of, but it's Kirby. They'll find something. Yep.
We also got a bunch of new Zelda amiibos, as well as the last round of Smash amiibos that are going to be coming out in July. And of course, people wanted to get our opinions of this. So you get, basically, they're all the DLC characters. So Bayonetta is in there, Cloud is in there, and you could get either Classic Cloud or Advent Children Cloud. You can get Bayonetta 1 Bayonetta, Bayonetta 2 Bayonetta, and also, and I'm going to murder his name.
Corrin.
Corrin, thank you. You can also get the Corrin ones.
Yep,
Yay.
male and female.
More male and female. Yay! It's more amiibos, so that's great.
Okay, I want to.
The fire.
All I want to say to that is, thank finally God. I've been waiting for the Bayonetta 2 amiibo for freaking ever.
I just I immediately got asked, like, are you going to buy the Cloud amiibo? No. I'm not interested.
I only really care about the Bayonetta amiibo. Once I have that stylish, gorgeous, badass woman just sitting on my desk, I am good to go.
But that's fine, yeah. And I'm not saying that the poses for Cloud are bad. It's just Cloud issues.
That's just.
And for me, go ahead, Brenton.
Oh no, I was just gonna say the poses are just how they look like in game.
Yeah.
Like that's just the official artwork for the character in game.
Yep.
And
so
for me,
Rodney.
out of the three I probably would get the Corrin. And that's just mainly because Intelligent Systems has a really good track record of having the Fire Emblem amiibos do other things outside of Smash. I mean, for example, if you have Codename Steam and you have basically the amiibos from Marth, if you have Marth, Ike, Lucina, and Robin, and you have Codename Steam, you can place those amiibos on your 3DS to get Ike, Marth, Robin, and Lucina in your party in Codename Steam. And in Fire Emblem Fates, same case, where if you touch either the Marth amiibo, the Robin amiibo, the Lucina amiibo, the Ike amiibo, you can have those characters visit your world, and if you do it 3 times, you then unlock a special challenge map, where if you beat the challenge map, you get to add them to your party. And so I probably would buy the Corrin amiibo for that functionality, because Intelligent Systems has a really good track record of making those amiibos worth it. And so that
sounds
would
to me like
yeah, especially with Fire Emblem Echoes coming out, I'm sure there's probably going to be some sort of functionality they may work in, especially given that they have both the Alm and Celica amiibos coming out around the same time that the game launches.
So we have the Zelda amiibos, we have the Smash amiibos, we have ARMS gameplay, which was showed off. So we have lots of different types of attacks and fighters. Each fighter has different abilities. You can mix and match them. New fighters use Ramen or Raymond-based attacks and has kick attacks. So a lot of stuff that we figured was going to be in there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Basically, it was just, okay, here's the gameplay. Here's how it works. Here's a new character that we have in this game. They even did like a full-on, okay, here's the fight. Here's like a staged fight in this game. And it was just a case of, okay, the gameplay looks kind of interesting, kind of gimmicky. So it basically, to me, it just comes across as of, okay, so this is basically just them trying to reinvigorate Punch-Out without calling it Punch-Out.
Pretty much. Britton, before I go on to the next thing, because you're actually excited about ARMS. So,
yeah, I think, like, I love fighting games. Like, I was a sucker for Wii boxing. In the Wii Sports, like absolutely 100%. I love Super Smash Brothers. I mean, I did kind of like a mini series on my channel for, I did that for a time. So I'm like super, super excited for ARMS. I've already like decided who I want to play. And once I get a chance to figure out how each of the like different power ups work and all that, then I'll start coming up with combos. But it is, again, something that I'm really, really looking forward to, and it's going to make summer super fun.
Yep. The next thing was actually something that I've been waiting on, was the announcement. So we got the blue and red Joy-Cons that happened for some of the Switches, and I was waiting to see if we were going to get other unique designs for them. We do have yellow Joy-Cons coming in June, as well as a charger pack for it. I gotta say, I was hoping for a lot more colors than that, but okay, I guess that works. So that's another thing that happened. We also got more Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, just basically stuff we've already seen. Ultra Street Fighter 2, we now know that Evil Ryu and Violent Ken are playable characters. There will be a first-person mode and a 2-player co-op mode. Okay.
They're really grasping at straws for features here because I mean, first person mode at least looks unique. It's just you holding the Joy-Cons and doing the Hadoken motion. That at least is something that uses the system.
Yeah.
2-player co-op. I can see why it may seem like a good idea in theory. You're basically
cool
2 players.
A little Easter egg in Street Fighter Alpha, but
yeah, it's very much a case of okay, I get the idea. It's 2 players who share a health bar, teaming up on one opponent. I can see that being fun for a little bit. Maybe as like okay, it's kind of a fun thing you do to kill the time before you actually go in and start. Like maybe as something as like for that you do as a lead up before doing a tournament. It's like okay, we'll just play this fun little co-op mode while we get everything set up. But honestly, I'm just looking at this. I'm just like, seriously, we have enough ports of Street Fighter 2. For the love of God, Capcom, give it a rest.
Exactly. So we also have Minecraft. We already mentioned this earlier, but Minecraft is coming to the Switch. It's getting a Mario DLC pack with worlds from the Mario universe. It is launching in May, and it's getting a physical release later on, so it'll be a digital first. We also have a bunch of Neo Geo ports. For those who haven't noticed, the Switch just barely got a bunch of Neo Geo ports into it, so those are a thing. Sonic Forces got gameplay, as well as a new character. Alex?
Yeah, and
new character really suck. Moving on.
You know, the thing is, they didn't really show that much, even of the new character. It was just and it may feature a new character.
Yeah.
We didn't even see a silhouette. It was just,
here's the thing. I've seen that trailer, and I went, ugh. Great. Add that character onto the pile of people I'm not going to care about in the Sonic universe.
And honestly, I'm calling it right here. The third character we're adding is just going to be Boom Sonic. I'm calling it right here. We have Modern Sonic. We have Classic Sonic. It's going to be Boom Sonic. Who else could they add?
I'm so sick and tired of new Sonic characters. You have no idea. Sonic Mania is coming out this summer. I really am. I really do think that Sega, in order to be able to save Sonic, needs to take a hatchet to a lot of those characters.
Well, and I mean, the characters themselves aren't inherently bad. Just don't shoehorn in a bunch of unfun gameplay to introduce them. I mean...
Yeah. The problem that I have here is that, okay, some of these characters actually contradict each other because they are literally the exact same thing over and over. So at that point, why don't we just give more backstory to the original design? So like the one that I bring up with Alex a lot is Cream the Rabbit. I do not see a reason for her to exist because she's just basically cute and cuddly sidekick. Oh, wait, we have that two-tailed fox off in the corner that has not been getting any love or development for many, many, many years. How about we just take the hatchet to the rabbit and work on the fox?
Honestly, I think the only game that actually handled the extra Sonic characters well was Sonic Heroes, because the gameplay actually made sense to have them there. Where it's a case of, okay, you have 4 teams, and you need basically a key member performing a specific role in each team, and that was a good way to introduce these side characters and show how they interact in their respective teams. Mm-hmm. It's just a shame that they didn't continue with that sort of thing, because I liked Team Chaotix. I liked the way they interacted with each other. I wanted to see more of Team Chaotix, but nope.
But unfortunately, then the flaws in Sega's little bubble started to show. And then we realized that a lot of these characters just didn't have a whole lot of thought or anything like that put to them. And so at that point, either put more thought to them or give them the hatchet. It's that simple.
Yeah, they're basically they gave them all cement shoes and put them in the same place where they put Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. So then we also have Project Makuru, and for all the Sonic fans that are going to be writing me hate mail, come at me. Because I don't care. I want Sonic to live just as much as you do, but I'm actually willing to say that this, and this need to be fixed. Project Makuru is a co-op puzzle game about flipping colored panels and is coming to Switch in summer.
Yeah, now that game actually does look kind of fun. It's basically, you have like a grid system, and it's kind of like Splatoon without the paint, where each square you hop on, it turns your color, and your goal is to basically have more squares your color than your opponents. You can jump and flip other people's tiles. It actually looks like a fun, simple game, kind of like a mixture of both Splatoon and Bomberman to that regard, where it's kind of like a retro arcadey sort of tile.
I also saw this trailer. It reminded me of Othello, honestly, like the classic board game. So I liked it. Sorry, I interrupted you, Romney.
Yeah. Well, it's just that put a thought in my thing. Just hope they don't accidentally name any of the characters in that game Desdemona, because that would make the game really, really dark.
Yep.
For those of you who don't get it, it's a Shakespeare joke, people. Read a book.
So we also have Fate Stella, which is is getting a Switch port in July. We have Disgaea 5 complete gameplay shown, as well as Puyo Puyo Tetris. We have Monopoly for Switch. Everybody face
Just in
palm
case.
now.
Yeah, just in case you wanted to give a game that's going to make your whole family miserable and didn't want to buy the board game,
Yeah.
there you go. Although I will say this, we kind of glanced over. For those of you wondering, Fate Extella, if you're a fan of the Fate Stay Night franchise, it's basically Fate Stay Night Dynasty Warriors. Disgaea 5, it's basically Disgaea 5 complete, kind of a strategy RPG. It has a bit of a cult following here stateside. And for those of you wondering what Puyo Puyo Tetris is, you have Tetris, and you have Puyo Puyo, which if you've played Kirby's Avalanche or Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, you've played Puyo Puyo.
Okay. Like I said, we have Monopoly for Switch, which will have 6-player multiplayer. Awesome, I guess.
And HD Rumble for rolling dice effect.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay. This hurts my head.
Not nearly as weird as the HD Rumble effect they're trying to do for Senran Kagura. It just yeah.
We also have Rayman Legends being ported to the Switch as a definitive edition in 2017. Sign X is a shmup that is coming out this summer.
Yeah.
Battle Chasers Night War is a turn-based RPG for the Switch. They're also coming out late summer. Payday 2 is coming for the Switch too later this year. We have a Namco Museum, which will feature Galaga, Pac-Man, Dig Dug, and more with challenge modes. That's actually pretty cool to me, including the old arcade crowd. And you can also, this was probably, I think, the lamest announcement that I heard from the Nintendo Direct. You can now buy a separate Switch dock.
Which I honestly can understand why, though, because the logic they explained, and it's a logic
I was
I
like, why wasn't this available now? Why wasn't this available at launch?
And that is the kind of the case of why wasn't it available at launch, because some people wanted to have us dock at different TVs, so that way they don't have to go to the same television, because hey, it's like some games you may want to play on your regular TV, some you may want to go over to the fancy big screen.
Exactly. And then finally, we had a bunch of Splatoon 2 announcements. So it got a retro trailer. It's getting a new mode, Salmon Run. It looks to be a horde mode where you must attack mutant salmon to earn power eggs. Boss salmon will have bounties to defeat, and you can call in lifesavers to bring back defeated allies. Golden eggs are collected to bring back to your net to win. We are also going to be getting Splatoon 2 amiibos. For those who didn't realize that was going to happen, please stand on your head. And Romney didn't take the joke.
No, I'm sorry. It's just we've already used that once. We've kind of run it into the ground. And
but
plus the other thing.
But thankfully, we also got a release date. So Splatoon 2 is due July 21st.
Yep. And as for amiibo functionality, they also made a point to mention if you have the Splatoon amiibos for the Wii U version, they'll work in Splatoon 2. We are also getting unique Splatoon 2 amiibos as well. So yeah, which really they should have just called it. Which I really think they should have just called it Splatoon and have the 2 be in place of the TOO. I mean, it designs itself, people.
Splatoon, it really, I agree. But then what happens when they go to Splatoon 3? Splatoon? Nah, I can't make it work.
Just don't make it work.
The thing is, that's when you drop the numbers and just go to subtitles, like Time Splitters did.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, I didn't think about it that way. So that pretty much sums up Nintendo Direct. Now, I'm not saying that these were bad announcements. These were good overall. They set up the 3DS's lineup, at least for like fall and winter, so people have stuff to look forward to on the 3DS. They set things up for people to look forward to on the Switch, as well as new accessories for people to look forward to. Even I kind of looked at the yellow Joy-Cons and went, oh, sign of things to come. Am I actually going to be able to get unique skins for my Joy-Cons? That'd be awesome. I would love to do that. So I think it was an overall good Nintendo Direct for them. It basically helped set things up for if they have bigger announcements at E3, this is the way to do it. Or a Tokyo Game Show for that matter. Final thoughts on Nintendo Direct before I think we're just going to wrap things up on the Star Wars stuff. So any final thoughts for this?
I don't have any other final thoughts. I didn't pay too much attention to the 3DS stuff, just because I'm a little more interested in the Switch at this current state. of time. So I mean, I'm happy with the announcements that we got. I like super excited for Splatoon as well. I think they're really, I feel like they really reimagined that IP and are bringing new things to the franchise, which I'm super excited for. And we got new information on ARMS, which I've already shared my opinions on that. So I'm just looking forward to what is to come for the rest of the year. I am already having I'm already thinking about the podcast of when we do the best and worst of 2017, and I'm already having a very difficult time choosing my favorite game of the year because I've played so many great titles already, and it's not even May yet. So I'm just really, really enjoying the year so far.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to because we only have a half hour left. That's how many stories we had, people, and we're gonna make this work as best we can. But we also had a major event happen in Star Wars. We had the Star Wars Celebration, which happened, I think, last week, and we were able to get some major announcements that came out of that people wanted us to talk about. So first things first, we got the first Last Jedi trailer. Now, I can already tell you that this guy right here, he hasn't watched it because he don't watch it. But some people actually did ask for our opinions on the Last Jedi trailer. I have seen it. My thoughts are, looks okay. It looks like it's got an interesting pace, so I'm okay with it. What about you, Brinson?
It's a teaser trailer. It's supposed to leave you with like mystery and not really like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be the blockbuster film of the year. Like we don't really know all that much about what's gonna, about the plot, except that it appears that Rey, or whatever her name is,
we know two things. We know Rey's parentage will be addressed in it, so that's going to be happening. And we also know that from the trailer, and this is the most thing I've gotten from listeners, is that apparently Luke has gone anarchist and no longer wants the Jedi. I didn't get that from you guys. So
no,
I get his last words. I didn't get that.
I didn't get that either. That one little statement that we got, like, it just leaves you in mystery, and at least for me, it's like, ooh, what is gonna happen? Another thing we also know is that Lucasfilms really wanted to delve more into the backstory and kind of focus a little bit more on Kylo Ren, and it looks like Rey is just going to be kicking it on the island that she found Luke on at the end of A Force Awakens. So this just looks like it's...
Well, the other thing that I'm excited for is, like, yeah, we knew we were going to get Jedi training with Rey.
Yeah.
But this might actually be the first ever film, and I'm glad that we're getting a focus on Kylo, because this would be the first time in film that we have seen Sith training. Now, for all the people who are going to scream out to me and go, no, wait, haven't we seen? No. For all the people who are going to mention like Anakin and all that stuff, no, you haven't seen them train. And for all the people who are going to bring up Clone Wars is one thing. I'm talking the actual films where we got to see Sith training. This is the first time we're actually probably going to see it. That's amazing to me. I would love to see how the Sith train their warriors. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good film. I don't doubt that in any sense of the word, but it's just a teaser trailer. It's not. It's supposed to leave you again in mystery with what is to come, what's going to happen. I think we'll be able to discuss that in more detail once we actually get a trailer, which won't be until closer to maybe Q3 is what I'm predicting.
Yeah, in fact, the one thing that I would actually say has been the most enjoyable out of this trailer is this. Getting to see the outcry from Luke's first words in the movie and seeing his last words in the trailer. Because the internet, I love you, but you blew a gasket for what I think are improper reasons. The internet first blew a gasket because they found out that I guess the first 3 words that he's going to say in The Last Jedi are, and this is so it's going to start off from Force Awakens. He literally looks at Rey and goes, "Who are you?" Now, to me, that sounds like a logical line. Like, Who are you? I've never met you before. And everybody's like, really? This is the first line you give Luke? Yes, because it makes sense.
I mean, if I had put myself into solitary confinement and ran away, and then all of a sudden I turn around and here's this chick handing me my lightsaber.
You're not Han, you're not Leia, you're not Chewie. Who are you?
WTF? Who are you?
Exactly.
How did you find me? Like, that seems like a realistic reaction. Like, are people genuinely upset about that?
Brinton, it gets better.
Oh,
Because
God.
not only that, but you had the people who were like, really, you're going to waste that? Then there was a bunch of people trying to justify it and saying that, no, he didn't say it because of story reasons. He said it because he's the Uber Jedi Master. Who are you?
Oh, God.
And it's like, guys, you need to tell a story. He doesn't know who she is. You know, even if he knew her at one point in her life, she probably doesn't look the same now. So this is a logical concept.
It's a very logical response.
And even better is the ending one, which is basically where he says something along the lines of the Jedi need to be ended. It's like, Luke's on the dark side. No.
Not necessarily.
This is actually a cool concept that the shows have been going into, is we've all been treating this as there's a light and a dark side. There's a third part in this. Well, and I actually think that this movie is going to highlight that third part.
Well, and another thing to consider, now I haven't seen the trailer, but I've seen people talking about the line like, the Jedi must end. I'm thinking, okay, from a philosophical standpoint, I can see what Luke may be saying. Oh, okay, maybe no one should have this much power with the Force, and because it's only caused more problems in the galaxy. Case in point, the rise of the Empire with Emperor Palpatine. All the crap that was going to be revealed going on with Kylo Ren. He's like, okay, the Jedi should end because it's clear that no one should have this much power in the Force.
Exactly, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. But here's the thing. I'll appease you all, Internet. He should have said something else when he introduced himself to Rey. I think this meme got it right. She has the lightsaber handed out to him, and that is, did you get the hand that was also attached to that? I love that meme. It's great. It's like, did you by chance find a hand that was attached to that? So, all right, now that we've gone all morbid, the next thing that we need to get into, and I really wish we had Alex for this because the listener in particular wanted his opinion on it. We got I don't think it was at the celebration, but we got it a couple of days earlier. The first major trailer reveal of Star Wars Battlefront 2. And, oh my gosh, it has a story mode. Yes.
Is it another field trip to Skywalker Ranch? Is that just the story mode? Is that you boot it up?
That's actually, you know what, Romney? That's exactly what I thought I was going to get for the trailer, but I watched it. And the trailer actually does follow a former Imperial officer who was on Endor, and her unit, while taking out Rebel scum, actually watched the Death Star get blown up. And they actually show the transition from going to that to going to the First Order and working for them. So we are going to get a story mode. I'm a little disappointed that they only showed Empire. I would like to see a Rebel version if they do that. And the other thing, too, is we're going to be getting new multiplayer modes, new maps, and new heroes, including unique pre-orders. If you pre-order, and I'm guessing this is with the whole $120 bundle, but don't quote me on that. If you pre-order, you can get Rey and Kylo Ren on your hero list. Not only that, but they also did show that the game will also feature prequel heroes. The ones they showed were Darth Maul and Yoda. Okay. And the question that got asked was, is this enough? Are you going to get Battlefront 2? Heck to the no. It's not enough. The story mode is appeasing, or it's interesting to me, but there was another feature in there, and they keep on saying new multiplayer modes. You need to make up for past mistakes here, DICE. And frankly, I wasn't going to buy this anyway, guys. My track record with DICE is Mirror's Edge Catalyst, some Battlefield gameplay, and the previous Battlefront. I'm not really sold on DICE. So I know a lot of people like them, but they just crossed they've gone a bridge too far for me. So with the stuff that I just barely said, Romney and Brinton, is this enough? Is this like remotely interesting to you guys to make you look into it?
Well, to kind of copy Dr. Cox from Scrubs, here's my personal favorite: man falling down a cliff.
No! No! Exactly. Brinton, what about you?
Maybe. I may be a little interested in it. I would like more information on the game first, of course. I know that Nathan is excited for it, but I do have my skepticism. I was excited for the first one, and I didn't buy it right away because I had not budget for it, and then I was told, "Don't get it. It's just not worth it." So.
In fact, you came to me too, and at that point I'd been burned, and I was like, "No."
Yes. I think you were like the final nail in the coffin of me not wanting to get that game, and even like Nathan admits that Battlefront just like initially was not. Like, he actually rebought it at a very discounted price during the holidays last year, and he was like, "Yeah, it's worth it then when you're paying like literally nothing for the game and all of its DLC." But just initially at launch, he was just like, "No, it definitely was not worth it."
And here's the thing too, like, let's just say for the sake of argument, I changed my mind. I'm not pre-ordering, and I'm not getting a full-on season pass bundle because it's just that's how the first Battlefront had the problems, is because people were literally paying $120 for a bunch of stuff they had no idea was coming.
Yeah.
And I don't play that way. I don't like, if I'm going to buy something, I'm going to pay what I think the game is worth. Now, would I like to have Rey and Kylo Ren? Yeah. Am I going to pay $120 for it? Absolutely not.
No, I completely understand. Honestly, I'm not even sure even if I do want to play it, I'm not even sure if I'll be able to get to it just because of how, just because my backlog is starting to pile up of like games still from last year and even games from this year. And so I'm pretty sure by the time 2017 comes to an end, there are just going to be so many games that I've started, and I've just come to this conclusion that I will finish playing these games because I will restart them as a Let's Play, and then I'll be like, "Oh, this is where I like stopped playing forever ago. So everything now is like new to me."
Yeah.
That's literally what's going to happen to me.
That's what's really sad too, is like my backlog is starting to catch up to me. Like, I still have reviews that need to get out there, and it's just because a lot of the games that I'm working on have taken a lot of time.
Yeah.
I think we got everybody's thoughts here. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which I don't think is going to have too many people talking about it. How many people watch Star Wars Rebels on the panel? I do, but I'm not sure about you guys. Okay.
I don't have cable, so I can't.
So I will
quickly. Didn't even know that was a thing.
So I will quickly broach this subject because I do actually watch it, and people wanted opinions for fans. They did announce the fourth season of Rebels, which will be the last season. I'm sad about that because I actually do like the storytelling that's happening in Rebels right now, but I also knew that Rebels couldn't last forever. So at that point, I'm sad to see it go, but at least it looks like the fourth season will go out on a high note. So I'm at least happy about that. The final thing that we actually need, the major thing that we need to get into is apparently there's also an announcement for a new series of animated shorts based on, from what we can tell, at least for now, the prominent female characters of the Star Wars series. So we did have confirmed we are going to get animated shorts for Rey, for Princess Leia, or for Leia. We're also going to get one for Sabine Wren, which is from Rebels, and also Jyn Erso from Rogue One.
And Ahsoka Tano.
Oh yes, Ahsoka Tano from Clone Wars / Rebels. I think it's going to be the Rebels version. So we're already getting these animated shorts based on these female characters, as well as a toy line for them. They actually did showcase these by giving each of the actresses who play them their own unique one. So we actually got to see the voice of Ahsoka have her Ahsoka, and I think the girl who played Jen Erso was also there. She got hers, and also the girl who plays Sabine. So we got to see those. Those are going to be happening. And my thoughts are, this is awesome. I love the Clone Wars shorts when they happened originally. And considering that I actually am very invested in a lot of the characters that they announced, I would love to see an animated short on Leia. I'd love to see one on Jyn Erso. I would love to see one on Sabine Wren and Ahsoka Tano. All of that is awesome to me, so I look forward to seeing what these things will do. Brinton and Romney, what do you guys think of the announcement of these animated shorts and the toy line?
Well, I think it's a pretty cool idea. I mean, it is very reminiscent of the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars miniseries.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's a good way to build up hype and get some more mileage out of characters who didn't necessarily survive their adventures. And so it's very much, it's basically Disney doing what Disney does, and hopefully they'll actually turn out a good product as a result.
Yeah. The one thing I should probably clarify, because you brought up Genndy Tartakovsky. From what I understand, he is not part of these animated shorts. Everything that I could read said he wasn't. And I think that's primarily because he is probably still seeing to the end of Samurai Jack.
Well,
so
yeah,
at that point, that's where his focus is.
Well, yeah.
This is not going to be...
Yeah, not to mention some of the other films he's attached to direct as well.
Yeah.
The guy's busy.
Yeah, exactly. So for those who are hoping specifically that he would be a part of it, he's not. Brinton, your thoughts on it?
I think it's a pretty cool thing. It's kind of like what Romney's saying. It's just Disney doing what Disney does, and I think it's just a cool idea to learn more about these characters, kind of like how you said, didn't survive their adventures, and that's always something that I have enjoyed watching. It's content that definitely that I am attracted to, and something that I would consider watching.
We also forgot one, Romney. Maz Kanata is also getting one too. So that's also another one that's happening. Sorry, Brenton, continue.
Oh no, that pretty much was everything that I was going to say.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I'm excited for them, but here's my little catch on the matter. I like the fact that you're focusing on the female characters of Star Wars. I love that concept, but if they're successful, I would not mind one done on Luke. I would not mind one done on Kylo Ren. I would not mind one being done on really any subject matter that you think is worthwhile. Like, I don't see a reason to limit it to just female characters.
Right.
There's some shorts that could be done for Luke.
Well, and looking at the actual quote, it's not necessarily that they're going to be limiting it to strictly the female characters when they say, oh, to focus on the heroes of the Star Wars universe.
Yes.
My guess is that they're using these female characters as kind of the gateway and then think, okay, if these do well enough, then we'll go through and expand for other characters that we explore through these other things. So like, okay, these did really well. Okay, let's go back and do one for Han. Let's go and do one for Luke, and let's go and do one for newer characters we introduce.
Wouldn't it be awesome to get it? Because here's the thing, after Last Jedi, next year is the Han Solo movie. Wouldn't it be great to get an animated short based on Han? I think that would be awesome, in my honest opinion. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps things up, and I think we're going to get into one other story because enough people have asked for it, and I've already brought it up to the panel. We're going to cover this, and then we're going to wrap things up. This is the one that I really wish we could get K2SO to give us some Prozac, because it ain't happening. So the live-action Aladdin might have actually found its genie. I'm not pleased with the casting. How many people thought Will Smith would be able to replace Robin Williams in this role?
I think
Not
the awkward
me.
silence is the answer.
Yeah, not me, especially after the craptastic job he did in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, or the other craptastic job in Winter's Tale.
After Earth.
Yeah, literally, Winter's Tale. I went to a press screening of that. Will Smith plays the devil in A Winter's Tale. Nobody took him seriously. As soon as he was on screen and he was supposed to be the devil, the whole theater erupted in laughter. You had the Fresh
That's
Prince of
so
Darkness.
funny.
Like, literally,
Yeah.
I even made the joke of, it's the Fresh Prince of Darkness.
Well, Will, I think your career's done. Not really, but I think your career's done at least for a couple of years, because everything that's come out from you in the last few years, I have nothing good to say.
He's definitely losing his flair. And I think one thing that should be stated, because it did come to mind as I was preparing for tonight's show, and I want to make this very clear, and I cannot be any clearer when I say this, but we are not upset with this casting because he is black. I just want to admit, I'm just saying that because for some reason I can see people misconstruing our words and being like, "Oh, he's just black. That's the only reason why." And it's like, actually,
Let 'em.
no. They people can say what they
Yeah.
want, but I'm
I
just
get it.
saying my reason, because Aladdin is an all-time favorite for me. I'm super excited for a live action Aladdin, but they could cast somebody so much better for that role. Like Will Smith is losing his flair. I think he should just take what he has done and just go into like hiding or something. Like just
Or
disappear.
just go back to rap. Just go back to rap. There's a lot of people who will be happy to have you back, Will.
Exactly. So like that's really just a disclaimer I want to put. It's not because he's black. I could care less if they casted a black man for this role. I really, really, really. That's how I truly,
How about
honestly.
the fact that he's a bad actor? Okay,
Well-
but like I'm going to say that he had a couple of good movies for a while there, but I'm talking the last couple of years, he's had nothing good for him. He has had bomb after bomb, turd after turd, and most of them are blamed on his damn performance. So at that point, I'm not saying that it's because he's black or whatever. I'm saying he's bad. And even better, here's another reason to, yeah, I'm going off onto a rant, people. Here's another reason to not do it. You're literally going to tell me that the replacement that you could find for Robin Williams, Robin effing Williams, is Will Smith? Guys, I hate to be the guy who burst your bubble. He wasn't that funny in Fresh Prince. He wasn't that funny in Men in Black. He wasn't that funny in Independence Day. He is not that funny. You're telling me he's going to be the replacement for Will Smith, or for Robin Williams, for crying out loud. He is the replacement? Robin Williams is spitting on him in his grave right now.
All right. Allow me to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go
Okay.
for it.
All right.
Yeah.
Here is my guess as to why they went with Will Smith, and that's probably because they know that they can't replace Robin Williams. They're probably thinking, okay, there's no way we can replace Robin Williams, so let's not try to replace Robin Williams because he was a one-of-a-kind sort of actor.
Okay,
And yeah,
fine.
they could go through Juilliard to try to find someone who had a lot of the same training that Robin Williams had, but you can't replace that sense of magic because a lot of people tend to forget.
But there isn't a replacement for Robin in this current day. Like none of the comedians out there are half the caliber he is, or he was.
Yeah. And so that's why I'm thinking maybe they decided to go with a different controversial choice because they figured there's no way in hell we can replace Robin Williams, so we're not going to try. Let's maybe try going in a radically different direction and seeing if that maybe softens the blow a little bit.
And see, I'll actually add on to your thing. I don't think it was necessarily just for a change of direction. I think it was because they wanted, quote, star power. Okay. And even though I would love to check the sanity of any person who would love to tell me that at one point he actually did have a developing career. I'm sorry, guys, I never saw it. It is very simply that he has some semblance of star power now. We actually made this argument for Suicide Squad. He was the guy who was going to sell it because he was the big star that they had attached to it. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. But I would then counter it with an argument of, does he actually have that level of star power anymore? I mean, Suicide Squad flopped, not just because of him, but it flopped. After Earth flopped, most of the
like After Earth, that one you can chalk up more to Shyamalan less than Will Smith.
But I'm saying, like, the last couple of projects that he's been involved with over the last few years haven't been so good. So at that point, it's either a problem with, and we could cite, there's director problems and whatnot. I'm going to cite the problem that I don't think he's as great an actor as people would like to give him credit for. And so at that point, you're basically betting the whole kit and caboodle on the fact that he is going to be the star power that sells this thing. Okay, maybe if he was Aladdin, I'll give you that. As Genie, no. And the funniest thing is, like, when I actually brought this up to the Geek News panel, the first person to respond was Romney, and is like, well, at least you're not getting Shaq.
No, actually, what I actually said was, well, at least the rapping will be better than Shaq. Because at least Will Smith can actually rap. Unlike Shaq, who was basically just rhyming to a beat that wasn't even a beat. It's just like, oh, these words rhyme. I'm rapping, right?
At this point, given how many duds I've seen Will Smith in, I'd take Shaq over him at this given moment.
I was actually going
Honestly,
to say the same thing.
Well, yeah, honestly, because if we're getting a rapping genie, Will Smith is the best choice for a rapping genie because he at least can rap. He at least has that under his belt.
I got a better idea. How about we not do Aladdin? I'm just saying.
Yeah,
like, that's the thing. Like, I'll be the first person to say that the live action Beauty and the Beast was surprising to me. It was pretty dang good considering. But I'm not saying that every Disney movie needs to have this treatment. Aladdin was one of the ones that I would say didn't need this treatment. Lion King is another one that doesn't need this treatment.
Yeah, but that's not going to stop them.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop them. I mean, they're remaking Mary Poppins, for example.
Oh, no, I know.
Disney,
and it's irritating, but...
Yeah, nothing is sacred at the House of Mouse.
What's that red dot on your forehead, bro?
Bring it. Go ahead. End it now. I don't.
That's right. Fun is finally at our door. Yeah. So, final thoughts on. Okay, first of all, it's speculation at this point. Right now, the thoughts is that Will is in talks to play Genie. All I can say is, if you're gonna do Aladdin, you could do so much better than Will Smith as Genie. Okay. We could actually go and find a better comedian out of it. In fact, I'm thoroughly convinced Robert Downey Jr. could do a better job because at least his jokes over the last few years haven't made me want to kill him.
Yeah, although, here's what I would argue. If you're going to do Aladdin, maybe don't try to copy the exact Disney formula where you're trying to be exactly comedic. Because one thing a lot of people tend to forget about genies, they're initially demons. Now, I mentioned this because there was this really well-produced Bollywood adaptation of Aladdin, not Disney's Aladdin. It was just adaptation of the story, and it actually was a really good take. It was set in modern day, but it had all the same trappings. And their version of the genie, aside from being an established Bollywood performer, had kind of a Faust air to it, where it's like, yeah, I'm a powerful malevolent force, but you freed me from my prison, so I'm granting you these wish. And the scene that I saw that was really well done is kind of the equivalent of the Prince Ali segment where the genie's just like, okay, I'm going to make you look good to impress this girl, so let me control you. And you literally see the genie controlling Aladdin like a puppet to make it look like he's actually dancing really well. And the actor who played Aladdin just had such great control over his body that he sold it. He was just like, hey, I don't know, I'm not actually in control. I don't know what I'm doing. And there's even that element of danger of basically like, is the genie going a little too crazy with some of these moves that he's having me do? And so I'm thinking, okay, if you're going to remake Aladdin, do something new with it. Give us a version of the story that we haven't seen before. You can have some illusions and trappings similar to the animated film, but actually have the balls to make changes and do something unique with it.
And with the pitch that you just gave, Romney, I would be okay with it. I still wouldn't be okay with Will Smith playing the genie. I would probably rather have him playing as either Aladdin or somebody else.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. If you're going to do it as a musical, actually commit to it being a musical and get someone who can actually sing, because Will Smith can rap. I'm not so sure he can actually sing. That's the thing. And so...
No. Here's the thing, guys. I'm not saying that his music career hasn't been successful. He's a good rapper, but
rapping and singing are two...
Yeah, being able to rap doesn't necessarily mean you've got pipes of gold.
Yeah, like some rappers can, like some hip hop artists can sing really well. I mean, if you take away the auto tune, T-Pain actually has a really good voice. It's just if you're gonna basically, it's the problem I had with Jungle Book. If you're gonna do it as a musical, do it as a goddamn musical. Don't half-ass it like you did with Jungle Book. And if you're gonna do it as a musical, get someone who can actually sing, or at the very least has the same sort of charisma as Robin Williams in the sense that they can actually sing a song like Friend Like Me to the same level, because that's a song that's a really high energy song that you may not be able to sing as well, but if you can sell it, you can sell it, because that's what Robin Williams did. He wasn't a good singer, so he just sold it through his personality.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
just it's just Disney. If you're going to make these live action films and want to keep the music, just make them as musicals. It's not a crime. You can do it. I mean, Lion King, for example, you have a whole Broadway musical you can pull from.
Well, I mean, I think they actually pulled, when they did Beauty and the Beast, they pulled from that musical too. So, you could easily make this work, but anyway, so we actually are running a little over, so we probably better wrap things up. But there you go. There's my thoughts. You guys can leave your hatred with me however you want. I am not on board with Will Smith playing the genie. I am not on board with a live-action Aladdin. Just because Beauty and the Beast worked doesn't necessarily mean that they all work, okay? Cough, cough, Cinderella might have worked. I don't know. I haven't watched it. But Maleficent sure didn't, and neither did Pete's Dragon. So there you go. Let's go ahead and wrap things up for the evening because we are over time. If people want to get a hold of us and leave their opinions on the matter or leave feedback on how we address the situation, Brinton, how do they do that with you?
You all can find me on Twitter, which I highly recommend that you follow me on because I post most of my updates regarding my channel onto my Twitter. That is at bvalli01. That is again at BVALLI01. And then I can also be found on YouTube where I do various Let's Plays. I am currently playing through a 100% run of Super Mario Galaxy 2, after which I will return and finish my Let's Play of Final Fantasy VII. Again, my name is Brinton Valli, spelled BRINTONVALLI.
And you bring up the competition. You better get back to that there, Brinton.
It's not competition.
No, it's not. But
I
also,
love how people think it's competition, but it's not.
I love the fact that I got a part one and instantly it's like, you do know Brinton's doing it, right? I don't think you can do. I think that's a betrayal, isn't that? No, is that? No, it's not, guys. I've been doing Final Fantasy games for quite a while, and it only makes sense that if I finished up Final Fantasy VI, I would go to Final Fantasy VII.
You guys, it's possible. Like, if I hadn't taken so many breaks, that I could have been finished with 7 by now. But it's still a likely chance that I would have been like at the very end of the game.
Here's the thing too. They're two completely different playthroughs. I'm a Final Fantasy fan. He's playing it blind. There's a difference, guys. In fact, I would actually recommend watch them hand in hand and see how the experienced player takes the situation and see how the new player takes the situation. Because
if you watch Adams, I'm pretty sure you're gonna see more strategic. Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And with mine, you just get a lot of screaming.
Exactly. That's exactly what you get. But also, if you guys want an extra dose of Brinton, you can also follow the Gaming with the Geeks that him and me have done of the original Devil May Cry. So you guys can check that out. Also, we're actually getting ready to wrap that up too. And then also Stephen Romney. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that? Because I have a feeling that so many people are going to be like, that hateful Adam, at least you were the guy who was the voice of reason over the whole Will Smith issue. How do they get a hold of you, Romney?
Well, you can always find me here on YouTube at youtube.com/StudioGhostUtah. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/RomneyReview. No, Romney's Reviews, no apostrophe S. No, actually, yeah, it has facebook.com/Romney's Reviews, no apostrophe. I am at Romney Reviews on Twitter, no apostrophe S. There we go.
There you go.
Back on track. As for this week's Romney's recommendation, well, to kind of get off topic of a lot of, the stuff that made us kind of angry and confrontational, you ever wondered what it would look like if characters like Wolverine, the Hulk, the Punisher, Psylocke, and Deadpool were to a samurai film? Well, this week's Romney's recommendation is 5 Ronin. It was a limited mini-series that Marvel put out. Back when I was in college, I followed the single issues. I actually still have those single issues. And it pretty much is exactly that. Reimagining characters like Wolverine, the Hulk, Punisher, Psylocke, and Deadpool in feudal Japan, specifically in the wake of the Tokugawa shogunate taking control of Japan, basically the end of the Warring States period, which left a lot of samurai without masters and basically left them wandering as Ronin. It's actually really well done. They don't make a big show of the fact that these are the Marvel characters. They basically find ways to reinterpret these characters in their setting. They aren't like, oh, these are mutants and all that. No, it's just, hey, here's basically how these characters would exist in this time period, in this version of Japan. And like I mentioned, a lot of the artwork is like you're watching an old Kurosawa samurai film, especially when you get to Deadpool's issue.
Yeah, this has been recommended to me a couple of times. Maybe I'll finally pick it up on Comixology, because you're not the first one to bring this up to me.
Yeah, it's definitely a good read. I liked what they did with a lot of the characters. My favorite issues my favorite issues, like Wolverine and Hulk, are kind of meh, but once you get to the Punisher issue, because they kind of go in order, Wolverine's the first, Deadpool's last. Once you get through Punisher and onward, that's where you actually start to see the world kind of fleshed out a little bit, and you see some of the more cinematic flourishes. And so, yeah, that's this week's Romney's recommendation is 5 Ronin from Marvel Comics, now available in trade paperback.
All right. And if people want to get a hold of me, because I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of people who want to get a hold of me this week, you can follow me on Twitter at Drac2326. You can leave your opinions there. I'm not going to say I'm going to agree with you, but you can at least leave your opinion, especially on Will Smith and all that fun stuff. You can also follow my YouTube channel, which is where you're at. It's where Geek News is hosted. You can check out the big backlog of YouTube episode or YouTube live streams that we have done for the podcast. And if you want to support the podcast, there are 4 ways to be able to do it, and we appreciate all of them. The first 2 are social networking. Look up Geek News Reviews and Opinions on Facebook and like it, and you'll get access to when we're going live, the stuff we'll be talking about. We'll be checking in on you guys' opinions as well, especially if you guys want to join the live chat, because we do have a live chat that joins us every week, and you guys can be a part of that. You can also follow our Twitter at GeekyNRO, and you'll get the exact same thing, up-to-the-minute information, what we're covering, when we're covering it, all that fun stuff. You can also submit your stories and feedback to geekyweek@gmail.com, and we do take those into consideration. A lot of the Nintendo and Star Wars stories tonight were contributed by you guys as well as the panelists on tonight. And also, I'm going to do this in honor before wrapping things up. If people want to get a hold of Alex, aka the Shadow Blazer, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us the full night, you can follow him at Twitter at AlexJShort, and you can also check out his channel, which is youtube.com/ShadowBlazer3000. He reviews anime, so plenty of stuff to look into there. And finally, if you guys want to be able to support the podcast as a whole, you can follow our RSS feed at geekyweek.podomatic.com, and that's where all the episodes are going, and they get all freshened up and put into a podcast format, so you guys can enjoy the YouTube episode as well as a final podcast to be able to take to work with you or enjoy on your commute. And that's going to go ahead and do it for us this evening. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this interesting evening. We had lots of Nintendo, we had lots of Star Wars and all that fun stuff. But unfortunately, we need to wrap things up. So thank you guys so much for continuing to like and support all of our channels as well as the podcast. And for me, for Romney, and for Brinton, as well as for Alex, we will see you guys next week for even more geek news, reviews, and opinions. Can people tell that I was not...